Hi, everyone. Welcome to the next segment of Resilience in Practical Terms. This is today we're talking about how to handle down days. This was a day when I certainly had a down day. So, as we talk about this, I want you to hear from me that we all have them, including the person who teaches about resilience. I speak about this on a regular basis, and yet, no matter how hard we practice, no matter how evolved and grounded and centered we are and try to be, we still are human and we get to be human. And as Anne Lamott says, life gets lifey. And so when we have these days, especially during times like this in a time of crisis, we're having a normal response to abnormal circumstances. And so I want to talk today about how we handle those days when, despite all of our best skill sets, all the tools in our toolbox, we still just don't have it to give. So, some of you may know from Saturday Night Live, Rachel Dratch has a character called Debbie Downer. My favorite episode of that is when they go to Disney and all the characters in the sketch crack up and bust out laughing. And so I love that one. It makes me laugh absolutely every time. But Debbie Downer is that wah wah when whatever it is that comes up, she just has something that nothing's going to make her happy. She's going to be upset by everything. We all can have Debbie Downer days and times like that. And so today was one of them for me. I just didn't have it to give. I'm doing better now because I gave myself a couple of hours this morning, a couple of hours, extra hours on Facebook and social media and just doing other things because everything I had planned, I woke up and I just didn't have it. I was hitting a little bit of my own wall this morning. And so I gave myself some time to wallow in it a little bit, to nest in it, to be wrapped up in soft blankets, to be gentle and quiet and easy, and to let go of expectations of myself. And then after giving myself a couple of hours to be there, it's like, all right, it's time now. Let's get up and get going. And I got up and I did the things that I know to do, the things in my toolbox. And eventually I'm in a better place. And I'm grateful for that. But we have the hard days. I haven't gotten to nearly the things that I wanted and expected and hoped to do today. And I did the best I could. And that gets to be good enough. So some of you may know the quote from the psychologist Abraham Maslow. He says, in any given moment, we have two options: to step forward into growth or to step back into safety. And sometimes stepping back into safety is the best that we can do. And again, it's okay so long as we don't stay there. Some of you may have seen the video of Rabbi Dr. Abraham Twersky, who talks on, you can find him on YouTube, of how it is that lobsters grow is the name of the video. And in it, he talks about how we can use adversity properly. So he tells the story of being in the dentist office one day and flipping through a magazine and seeing an article about how lobsters grow. And he's like, why do I want to know about this? But he went on, and as he read it, he was pretty intrigued. So lobsters, being these mushy, muscular animals, but they're mushy. They're just, without their exoskeleton, they're just mush. When the time comes that they grow so much that the shell that they're in is too small for them, it finally gets so uncomfortable because the shell gets tighter and tighter and tighter that finally they don't have any other choice. The discomfort is too much, and it compels them to cast off the shell that's gotten too small for them. But now they're not safe from predators, so they crawl under a rock and they hide to protect themselves. And they're there while they're going through that slow process of calcifying and rebuilding another shell, a bigger shell, better suited to their larger size, their growth. Some of us know about that with sweatpants right now. But when they're growing to the point where they need that bigger shell, so they cast it off, they're under the rock, they hide there for safety. And so Rabbi Twersky talks about the fact that when we feel uncomfortable, it's calling us to cast off the shells that are too small for us and to grow. I go a bit further and I say that those times when we hide under a rock, when it feels like we have no skin or we're just one big raw exposed nerve, sometimes we need to hide under that rock to protect ourselves. This morning, I didn't have it to give. I needed to be protected. So I needed to just hole in and tuck in and hide for a while. I didn't have enough resources to protect myself against misconstruing what someone else said because I was feeling irritable or cranky or snarky or highly sensitive. I didn't have it in me to filter myself and to not vomit my negativity on other people. So I was careful about what and where and when I posted on social media or what I said to others as I spoke to them. I just didn't have it. I was too raw and I needed safe space. And so there are times when during our down days, it is okay to tuck in and hide. You may have seen in the promotion for this live video, it was a kiddo sitting on a couch in a bit of a fort of pillows over him. We need times like that. So during these times, the challenge is not to not have them. And I'm watching my production notes that I always print out to make sure I say what it is I want to say and not miss something. So during these times, there's nothing wrong with it. The trick is to just do things that are constructive and productive and helpful and healthy for us, and to not do the things that aren't healthy for us. So when we're in this cave time, in this time of isolation, it can be a really good time to hide and protect ourselves until we've grown a new skin, until we've grown a bigger shell or a new exoskeleton, or more resources and resilience to protect us and as more of a buffer. It can be a time to let our neurochemistry chill the heck out and calm down. Many of us have been saying, despite the crisis, that a lot of us are actually we're feeling more relaxed and calm in some ways because we're not rushing. Some of us have fewer demands on us, or we may have more demands, but we have an excuse to say, can't right now. I've got other things I need to focus on. And so not rushing all over the place, having a slower pace. Can you feel it and hear it when you're with people? We're just getting invited to slow down. And so in that space, our neurochemistry can reset from rush to I sat on Sunday and I listened to the wind blow through the leaves and the trees. I watched the color of yellow of the sunlight and the blue of the sky and the green of the tree leaves filter around and back and forth and off of each other. I sat and I scratched my puppy's belly. I just sat and was, and we need more space for that. During this time, the down times, it can also give us space to process and try to make some sense out of what the hell's happening. We need to find meaning when we're going through challenging times. And I don't mean the made up meaning of, oh, we're never given more than we can handle. Again, if that's helpful for you, I don't mean to degrade it. But we don't want to impose theology on people. We don't want to spoon feed meaning onto someone else's trauma. That's not helpful. In fact, it can actually be incredibly damaging to them. But whatever there is that works for us, we need to create a new story because the one we're living in doesn't make sense. And so we need to find some way to make meaning out of this. For instance, for me, this sucks. I don't want this happening. None of us do. It's horrific. Hundreds of thousands, if not into the millions, are dying in the midst of this. We know all the damage that's happening. People that are struggling, who are losing their incomes, are facing total financial ruin and devastation. We know that there's horrible things happening. And in the midst of it, I get to not just be down here in what's negative and horrible and awful. If I stay there, I make myself more traumatized. But if I focus on what also is true up here, which is we're learning to slow down. We're learning to connect in new ways. We're learning to support each other. We're being invited to be more introspective and to get more serious again about what a new normal might need to be rather than going back to the old normal that things were like before the pandemic. We're getting pushed and invited to see things in different ways. And so how are you making meaning? Where are you finding some gifts in the midst of the horrendous circumstances? And so it gives us this time to slow down and to process and to think, and we need space to do that. During these down days, we can find it as time to recharge and to prepare for the next steps of whatever is to come. And so if that means binge watching and binge eating for a day, you know what? Go for it, baby girl. Do it. So long as you use it as an opportunity to recharge. But inertia has its own energy. Once we stop, it can be really hard. It takes extra force. Once something is not in motion, I didn't take physics, but once something's not in motion, it can take a hell of a lot to get it back into motion again. So don't let your butt permanently indent a spot on the sofa, because once we sink too far into that space, it can be so hard to get ourselves up and going again. Keep going, even if it's just getting yourself to walk around your complex or your house or your block once a day. Do something. So don't stay there too long or sink too deeply into it. But while we are recharging and getting ready for next steps, then during that downtime, during the things that we can do that it can be constructive, during that time can be to remember feelings aren't facts. I got to remind myself this morning. I started to text my mentor and realized I know what she's going to say. Feelings aren't facts. Be where you are, acknowledge it, name it, honor it, but then reach out and phone a friend. Find things to do to remind you of who you are and how you want to be. This is just energy and information. I may feel anxious, but right now there is no bear looming down my neck or chasing me. There is no saber-toothed tiger. Right now, I have enough money in the bank for today. So just for right now, just for today, I am safe. I am well. The people I love are safe and well. And so I may feel anxious, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I really have, that there's something really to fear right now in this moment, which is where I can be my best self, is in this space and in this moment. We can remind ourselves to not tell ourselves a story that scares us about the feelings we're experiencing, that feelings, the feelings that come up in us, they're just a neurochemical signal. That's all. We're the ones who put labels of good, bad, anger, fear, sadness. We're the ones who put those labels on them. And I'm not saying that we're wrong, but it's just information and energy. And so when we take a stance of curiosity towards our feelings, rather than scaring myself, again, my mentor would say, don't scare yourself with that story. It's like, oh yeah, I'm getting myself scared by saying I'm scared, I'm scared, I'm scared, I'm scared. I was making myself more scared. And so instead I noticed I have a lot of energy coming up inside of me right now that feels like fear, but it's just information. And that energy, I can use it to be anxious and freaked out, or I can use it to get overwhelmed and shut down, or I can use it to say, what am I going to do with this energy to do something constructive? We can, again, acknowledge that feelings aren't good or bad. They just are. They can feel good. They can feel better. Some can feel better than others. Some can be more challenging than others, but it's just information. And that energy can can compel us to do something with it. So we make room for all of the feelings, the ones that are seemingly good and the ones that are seemingly bad. We use the energy or is the energy telling us, I need to get to work and do something. I need to set boundaries. I'm angry. I need to take action on my own behalf. When I start to get angry, I catch myself and say, don't get angry. Get clear, get grounded, and set boundaries. Don't be resentful. Set a limit. Ask for what you need. And so we can remember that feelings also can be shifted. Some of you've seen the TED Talk. I'm referencing a lot of other social media videos, but the TED Talk by Amy Cuddy, that how your body language can actually shape who you are. She's the one who says if you do the superhero stance and just stand like this for a few minutes before you need to do like a presentation, it actually makes you feel more powerful, more strong, more grounded. And so the ways that we handle our bodies, the stance we have, can literally change what's going on inside of us and change our neurochemical makeup in any given moment, just like meditation and gratitude lists can do the same. We can change our neurochemistry. When we know that when we smile, we actually trigger the epinephrine, the norepinephrine, and the feel-good chemicals, the serotonin, the dopamine. We actually trigger our chemistry in our bodies. We trick our bodies into thinking that we're happy when we smile. So forcing a smile, now I don't mean a fake one when someone says, hey, you'd be pretty if you'd smile. Not that crap. But when we're down, I don't like it. I'm pissy about it, but I make myself smile. And I remember that there are some things that are good. Gets back to doing a gratitude list. We'll talk more about that in another segment. But in that place, I literally trick my body into sending feel-good hormones throughout it. So we can change. I had a psychology professor and undergraduate in Marshall at East Texas Baptist, Dr. Lynn New. He would give us an extra letter grade on our tests if we showed up for the test dressed up rather than dressed down. Because as the research shows, that when we dress up, we feel better about ourselves and more powerful and more capable and more competent. And so I finally got up and got myself dressed into real clothes. And I promise I'm wearing pants under the, well, okay, shorts underneath this, but real clothes underneath this. So there are things that we can do to change what's going on in and around our bodies. We can change how we feel by how we act and how we choose to stance ourselves, the stories we tell ourselves. And so we can actually dress up to feel better. We can smile and we can shift our stance. And so as we do gratitude lists, I'll do another segment on what it can be like, but do a gratitude list. If you already have a practice, start one. Just write down 3 good things that you're grateful for today and what your part in those good things was or is. We can find a sustained gaze with someone else. That can also change our neurochemistry. We can significantly increase the oxytocin. That's the feel good chemicals that we feel when we are madly, fiercely, deeply, newly in love, that limerent stage of falling in love or even falling in lust with someone. We can increase that's the same chemical that comes up when we stroke a cat or a dog and pet them. It's the feel good chemicals. When we maintain eye contact with someone, a sustained gaze for just a period of 7 minutes can substantially change us. That can be too freaky hard. Start off trying 2 minutes with someone that you love. And you'll notice at first you'll feel anxious. You may try to sabotage each other and giggle, but eventually as you settle in and relax, people tend to get misty-eyed because it can feel very touching to see someone else and to be seen. So find that safe space for yourself, even if it's over a screen with someone else. I did this with a friend of mine earlier this week. I had my students do this exercise. They didn't think they could because of this, because we're all socially distanced. They found ways to do this by screens. So find ways to practice that to increase more of the feel-good chemicals inside of us. And then finally, the things that I turned to today: hydration. I pulled up my water bottle because I hadn't had anything yet. Sunshine, it definitely changes us. Again, with just a matter of minutes, can improve our mood and our physiological well-being. And movement. I got out and went for a longer walk, and I'll later go for a longer run. Community. I'll be actually having a socially distanced happy hour with some friends in just a bit. I'll see you soon, Joan and Jen. Do something. So when we have hard days, it doesn't mean that there's anything bad or wrong with you. It just means that, again, life is being lifey. You're not bad. You're not weak. You don't suck. You're not an unevolved person. It's not that there's nothing wrong with you. This is hella hard. And our systems will react. And we can hold it together for a while, but there'll be days when we'll hit a wall. And that just may be a time when we've reached the end of our resources and we're being invited to do what is very adaptive, is to take time away, to crawl into a bit of a cave or a hole or under a rock, whatever the metaphor works for you. Reduce, restore, restory, whatever narrative is running through your head. Find ways to tend to you and care for you. And then make a plan to come out and to bring yourself out by doing the things that you know to do that will bring you to a new place. And then after you've come out of this space, it'll be a miniature moment of resilience and post-traumatic growth. All right, I had some cave time. Now, what am I going to go do? I'm rejuiced, I'm recharged. Let's go get busy because we've got a lot of work to do together. Together, we're going to find our way through it. Hope this has been helpful. I'll look forward to seeing you next time. And I'll start working on scheduling these and letting you know way ahead of time when they're going to be scheduled, so you can put them on your calendar and try to work them around your schedule. I know it can be easy to get to these in the moment of. Please do feel free to share. No need to ask me far and wide. I hope this is helpful, and let me know what else you'd like to hear about, what other topics would be helpful. If you have an idea of a different name, I think this is the name I'm landing on, since 5-minute Phillips was not working. We'll probably stick to about 15 to 20. And I see I'm almost getting to 20 now, so I need to wrap up. But thoughts or ideas about what you need to hear about, what's helpful, and what I can do to be of service and to help you during this time, please let me know. Remember, we're in this together. You're good. You've got this. It's going to be okay. It already is. Our hearts just don't know it yet. Peace, everyone. See you soon. Bye.